But if there is a favorite to finish in the top two, it would be 27-year-old Josh Davis, triple gold medalist from the 96 Olympics. Most golds, Rowdy, by any American man at those games.
You know, I have seen Josh Davis take a lot of races out very fast, but I've never seen Josh take it out that fast.
And he's still ahead of world record pace at the half. Davis looks like he's going to win it, and Davis sets an American record. He breaks a 12-year-old mark. What a swim for Davis.
Welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast. I'm your host, three-time Olympic gold medalist and captain of the 2000 USA team, Josh Davis. Here at Ultimate Swimmer, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you to be the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and spiritually, on your swimming journey. This podcast is geared primarily for those of us in the aquatic disciplines of age group swimming, college swimming, para swimming, open water swimming, and masters swimming. But we welcome all who are interested in peak performance, pursuing excellence, and swimming with purpose. So whether you are just starting out in the pool or you've been swimming your entire life, you were born for the water, and you were also born for greatness. So each week we will explore the 7 core habits of achieving greatness that will help take you to the next level in your journey to becoming an ultimate swimmer. This episode is brought to you by Breakout Swim Clinics, the longest-running swim clinic tour of swimming Olympians in U.S. history. Breakout Swim Clinics has been providing swim clubs with the biggest Olympic names for the best prices with gold medal service since 1997. Go to breakoutswimclinic.com and bring some of their great Olympians to your team to help your swimmers break out. Bigger names, better prices, gold medal service. Break out with the best. breakoutswimclinic.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast Show. I am so excited to have this guest. He is one of the most inspiring swimmers I've met in my life, and I've met a lot of swimmers. And he single-handedly kind of revived my master's career about 6 years ago when I got to train with him and spend time with him and his family. And a lot of people know him now. He's kind of world famous, and he's been a world junior champion. But he's what they call a NAG hunter, a national age group hunter warrior swimmer. He's broken over 100 national age group records in his relatively young career, now 21 years old. Welcome to the show, one of the greatest swimmers of all time, Michael Andrew. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me. First of all, I just want to, I'm honored. I know I had so much power in your master's career, and that's pretty cool to hear. I remember those things so well. It really doesn't feel like it's that long ago, but we love you. We love your family, and I'm stoked to be on the podcast.
No, it was definitely one of the highlights of my swimming career was just us getting to connect, our families getting to connect and make memories together, and getting to train with you and just learn from you and your dad about the race pace training, which we'll talk about later, because that's kind of your signature style training, and it's obviously worked for you, and you've got more national records than Michael Phelps and Kelly Ledecky combined. So it's working, and it worked for me. I remember in 2014 when we first met, my wife, it was my birthday weekend, September 1st. And my wife says, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And I says, "Well, I kind of want to drive up to Lawrence, Kansas to see what this kid is doing." Because it was just the funniest, craziest thing, because here you were breaking all these records weekend after weekend. And your dad's your coach, your mom's your manager, you train in your backyard, you only do 25s, and you just go pro at 14. And I'm like, everything about what you guys were doing was outside the box. And I was like, I got to go see what this is all about. And Mel Stewart, said, kind of hooked us up, and I got your number, and you guys were so gracious. You're like, "Yeah, come on over." So I drove 5 hours from Oklahoma City to y'all's ranch in Lawrence, Kansas, and just had the best time. It was a great birthday. So thank you guys for your hospitality and your time. And I remember it was our time for us to practice in your backyard pool, the 2-lane 25-meter pool. It's time for us to do our
that darn
first.
That was sticking out. So homemade. We built the pool by ourselves. I mean, we didn't do the building, the concrete, had someone else do that, but my dad pretty much screwed the deck in. We put the pool up together, all of that. So we had a few screws sticking out. And so I remember too, you slid into the pool without thinking, and that was the end of that suit.
That's right.
That too. He's like, oh my goodness, Josh Davis just came and visited us, and here we are destroying his suit that you'd worn for years too.
Oh man, that's. But that you and your dad got to build that together was a great father-son project, and it was quite impressive. And so we did our first practice together. You know, the 2025s or 3025s, and I kept up with you for 6 of them, and then I was burning, exhausted, done. I was so painful to try and keep up with you for 6 25s on 15 seconds rest, and you kept going. And I was like, oh my gosh, this hurts so bad. This is so hard. And I thought that's why you can go so fast at 50s, 100s, 200s, because it burns like a race if you do it right.
Well, and what's so interesting is too, I realized like even at that time, looking back now, is I was already so much more conditioned to that type of training because I'd done it for a few years now. But now when I train with you and you do your 30, 50s, because you've been doing it for so many years, I'm like, oh, Josh is so close. He's there. Like I can't slack at all. Otherwise, Josh is going to beat me. And so it's so cool to see like over time how that's happened. And man, I mean, even just now looking back at those days where we were in Kansas and you visiting us and like just thinking about all the time and the work and the things that we had experienced and gone through leading up to that point. I feel so blessed to feel like I've lived almost an entire like professional career, yet we're just getting started. Like I haven't even been to an Olympics yet. So pretty exciting journey, and looking forward to it.
I know. Yeah, your national career, your international career is now pretty expansive, but not many people know what happened from when you were, kind of 0 to 13, which is a whole nother huge story in itself.
Yeah.
Can you kind of summarize what you and your parents and your sister did from kind of 0 to 12, 0 to 13 to where you all ended up in Lawrence? Because it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, so here goes the Spark Notes version of it. So parents are both born and raised South African. So I'm South African by blood, and at the time they were living in South Africa, met, and once they got married, they started traveling the world. They went everywhere for about 8 years. They planned on taking a 1-year trip, just work and enjoy it, but one thing led to another, and they would work odd jobs, find a postcard, and travel. My dad grew up an athlete. He swam, played rugby. My mom was a British gladiator amongst some of her travels. And so just a very athletic background. We, as the Andrew name holds true, we've always been very competitive. And so growing up, that was something that was instilled in me young. I was born in Edina, Minnesota. So it was a place that my parents were kind of stationed. They were working at a greenhouse. Once I was born, we decided as a family, they decided as a family, I wasn't really smart enough to make any decisions for myself as a baby, but we went back to South Africa and we were there for about 1.5 years, 2 years, but very quickly realized that it wasn't safe to raise a family. There were a lot of just like car break-ins and things like that. And my parents had actually known friends that their car had been hijacked with their baby in the back of the car. And so this was a regular occurring thing. And so there was a lot of fear, and they felt like, you know what, America is kind of that's the place where, you can have that American dream. You can be free to do what you want, and you can work hard and create success. And so they were fortunate enough to land jobs through agricultural, because my parents were my dad grew up on a farm. And so we went to Aberdeen, South Dakota. And that's kind of where the journey all started. While we were there, Michaela was born, my sister. So it was like 2 years later. And we were there for, I want to say 10 years. So quite a while. And by the time I was about 8 years old, our neighbors had introduced us to swimming. Being my dad's background in swim, he was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, this is cool. So my sister and I started swimming together. We loved it, very quickly progressed. But what we saw was as we started to get better and faster, we started to break these state records, and we started to run into politics where, there were other family members on the team that wanted to have certain records, or their kids wanted to swim events. But if I swam those events, I would beat them. And so it was, politics are everywhere, especially in sports. And so we quickly decided, you know what, like, we see a talent. My dad saw an incredible talent. And one day he came and watched, and he was like, oh my, like there's a God-given talent here. and he wanted to do everything he could to cultivate it. And so he kind of took things into his own hands, and eventually we connected with some scientists, John T. Skinner at the time, and fellow South African. And so we were like, oh, this is great. And this was kind of what started our journey of just seeking out people that are smarter than ourselves and knowledge, and trying to understand how does the body function. And over time, we continue to swim fast and to gain just a little bit of an understanding. And that's really when my dream was kind of set, when I realized, like, okay, I believe God's given me a talent. I can swim fast. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And by the time I was 10, I started breaking national records. And through all this period, and it's kind of the same season, maybe a year before that, we started to learn more about the race pace training methodology. And I remember the year that we went to ASCA, and that's where we got to meet Dr. Brent Russell, who's the founder of ultra short race pace training. And we began a relationship, and everything kind of took off from there. Along the way, there's been some incredible highs and some very interesting lows. And, we've been fortunate enough to navigate it as a family. And it's been so cool to see now, like, we've kind of come out of this whole developmental years of my swim career. And I'm at this stage where I'm 21 now. I'm recognized as an elite athlete, a professional swimmer, amongst the top in the world. But I look back at all of the things we went through and all the things we did differently, and realize it was so worth it. And those are things we'll get to touch on, like not going to college, going pro, the way we train, being very family oriented, believing, Jesus is Savior and he gave me this gift. So it's just like we did everything very differently. And we became known, I think, in the swimming world for kind of being rebels with a cause. And, we've always done as much as we can to have purpose behind it, realizing that swimming isn't the end goal. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey already. Like, man, even inside of that little Spark Notes version of our life story is like so much. I feel like we can write a pretty crazy book one day.
Yeah, I mean, it would make a great movie or book, because just the politics your parents faced, and then moving around the country, and then traveling the world before that, and then settling, having to leave Aberdeen after a while, and then settling in Lawrence, Kansas, building the backyard pool, and then finding Dr. Rushall, getting going with race pace. So you were lucky to find race pace before you ever had to go do the hard, crazy training that is so traditional that a lot of young middle schoolers and high schoolers get to do.
So I was young, like I'd go to our swim practices in Aberdeen and go to the club, and I'd be like just swimming up and down and up and down. And I was like, this is no fun. Like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be here. Like, I'd rather just go home and jump on the trampoline or something. And I was so lucky, when we came around to that time, we like met Dr. Russell, and I walked up to him. He was like, I want your notes. I want to be your friend. I want to learn from you. And that's kind of when everything just started, and, took off.
Well, the first couple of years, you're just kind of doing 25s all out. And obviously, it takes about 10, 15 minutes for each set, so you do a fly set, and you do a breaststroke set, and you do a backstroke set, and you can do a freestyle set. I mean, you can do 3 or 4 sets per practice. And your practices were about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, sometimes more if you wanted to. But you kind of, after an hour, you reach failure and you're done, and you just go play, and you go do your homework, and you go, do stuff with your family. And when I came to visit you after you'd been doing this schedule for several years, and I finally got to visit you, I mean, you kind of had it down. You swim an hour in the morning, be busy the rest of the day, swim an hour at night, and just you had a great life. And I thought this could radically change things for people.
Wow. No, it was really crazy, and it's evolved over time for sure. But what's so interesting is now we start to see other athletes who have been able to have success, and that's the thing too. Is like we realize, we live in a very performance-based world, and so there's no notoriety unless there's success. And so as we started to break records and go pro at 14 and do these things that seemed, very unprecedented at the time out there, we gained a little bit we had more eyes on us. And I think as we kind of stood the test of time, people realized like there's some truth and there's some validity to what's happening. And it's been wild, like really
Yeah.
wild.
So anyway, 2014, I get to know you and love keeping up with you. And I invited you to my big pro meet that I used to hold in San Antonio called the Fastest Man in Texas.
Oh man.
And I think we had Nathan Adrian that year. I think the prize money was 10 grand.
$10 and $1. I think
That's right. That's right.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was the highest prize money ever recorded at that time, because one guy had 10,000, so I had to up it by $1, so 10,001. So that made it the highest. And Nathan Adrian came. And it was first time we met Bruno Fratus. You were there. We had guys from a bunch of college guys, a bunch of pro guys, and I think about 24 guys altogether. Because it took about 3.
Did you vegan race as well?
Yeah, I raced as well. Yeah, so we had three heats of 8, and then we whittled it down to 2 heats, and then whittled it down to 1 heat. And so I think it took three races to see who could get the 10 grand.
Yeah,
and
I remember that meet so well. That was like my first like big pro level like exciting meet where it wasn't like it was very untraditional, kind of like what happened with the ISL. It's like it was so different and so exciting. It didn't feel like you're at a swim meet.
Yeah, so that was the first kind of skins format you'd ever done, shootout format, and you did great. You did great, by the way, at that meet, and so we were so glad you were there. But Nathan was in his prime and won the 10 grand and going 18.6 or something, and that was pretty cool. But I remember that fondly. So thank you for coming to that meet.
Yeah,
and
have it again. I've been wanting to do more skins meets like that.
I know. Well, if the ISL doesn't make more stops in America, we're going to create some, and that way, some just fun pro meets for people to go to. And it just seems like the 14, 15, 16 just kind of flew by, with so many ups and downs for you in that 3-year window that I got to hang out with. Our families got to hang out here and there, and you're still racing all over, and trying to train out of the backyard as best you can, while still traveling and racing as much as you can. So, I mean, there's so much that happened in those 3 years. What are some big learning curves or some highlights or challenges that you learned from?
100%. I think so. For me, looking back at 14, 15, 16, the highlights were mostly lows. Like now that I look at it, it's like there were so many low points that seemed to kind of eclipse any of the national records that were broken and the exciting things that happened. And this was really my like major developmental stages where I had to learn how to become a professional athlete in a very compressed, like rapid season. And it was hard. Like I remember when I first signed pro at 14, I wasn't earning any money. Like there was no real monetary value to any of it, but I had given up a lot of things, at least in the eyes of the world and the current like swim world at the time. Obviously things have changed and evolved a bit now, but we were kind of faced with a lot of skepticism. There were a few supporters, but there was a lot of people who were saying some pretty interesting things behind closed doors and then through, anonymous chats on SwimSwam and Swimming World and all those things. And so we had a lot to deal with. I was very fortunate that, the season you came and visited with us, that's when you were able to put us in touch with wise counsel and spiritual mentors through some Bible retreats. And that's when I first started to learn that I wasn't defined by my performance and I didn't have to find my value and my worth in swimming, but I could live for a purpose higher than myself and swim free of that fear of failure if I could change and completely shift my paradigm. And, that's something that I constantly deal with. I think even today, it's still a struggle because we live in such a performance-based world. But those 3 years is really where I had to learn and grasp that. And it took a lot. Like, it took a lot of failing to finally start to succeed and understand my place and my call, the call in my life to swim. And I think that's was really huge, because I used to show up to meets so terrified, afraid to fail, because before I was 14, I'd show up to a meet and break 5 national records in one weekend, and then go next weekend and break them again. And, it seemed like this regular thing that once I started to not be able to do that, people could quickly and easily, you're only as good as your last race. And so I felt like I had this, this weight on my shoulders that I had to continually prove myself as a pro athlete. Now, no age groupers can beat me because I'm this professional age grouper. So what does that mean if some other kid beats me? I can't let seniors beat me because, I'm supposed to be, they're not. And it's just this kind of warped thinking that I now had to constantly prove myself, and it was really dangerous. And I see that too now with a lot of pro athletes, and that's kind of where I find a lot of my purpose, is being able to understand so early. Like, I had to grow up so quickly. Obviously I wouldn't be the man that I am now if I hadn't had those experiences, but it's really challenging. And, it put a toll on my family and everything, because, we work so closely together. And I just, I'm so grateful to have the support and the family that I have, and the incredible people that came around me and were able to support me and pray for me and cheer me on, knowing that there was so much just negativity and kind of opposition towards what we were doing, because it was so unique and so different to what the culture in the swimming world at the time was.
Yeah. I mean, you were just trying to graduate high school, be a kid, have fun, be with your family, but there was so much scrutiny, a lot of pressure, a lot of, just cynicism out there. And, but I appreciate you working through that and coming out the other side stronger and better for it. And, that all of us on the USA team and all of us pro swimmers, all of us use the disappointment and the setbacks and the adversity to make us stronger. And you've done a really good job of doing that.
Appreciate that.
But I got to tell you, Michael, and we've talked about this before, but in the last 6 years, that people have been made aware of race pace and the science behind it, because there was a lot of people doing race pace versions or hybrids for years. Dave Salo was great, and Mike Bottom at Michigan is a great sprint coach, and there's so many great sprint minds out there that have been out there, but you just kind of formalize it and put a name on it and give coaches some science behind it, and you're the guinea pig who is proving it works. Yeah. It really opened up a lot of coaches' minds, and all the records, all the incredible depth of the USA, the depth of the high school and collegiate swimming, all these records, these amazing records these last 5 or 6 years, didn't come about because these swimmers were training more yards.
Right.
It came about because they were doing more race pace, focused, dynamic workouts, that mimic a championship meet. And, everybody believes that training fast, you got to train fast to race fast.
Yeah.
So thankfully, a lot of coaches out there do kind of the healthy hybrid where, there is some traditional components, which are fine, some equipment, some long stuff, some kicking stuff. There's a time for that, especially for distance guys. But I really think the reason for so many records and so much depth and so much fast swimming in the high school, collegiate, and international ranking is the race pace dynamic. I think more coaches are going faster every day in practice. So all these records in depth isn't because they're doing more yardage; it's because they're doing more race pace. And so I want to say thank you to you and your dad for kind of opening people's eyes to what a great practice can look like that still produces great success at the end of the season. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I mean, I'm super grateful. I mean, and stoked to know that I've kind of had a lasting impact and, been a part of that. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about too, that, it just took a few races and some emotional seasons to do that. But it's really, It is amazing. I think what's so interesting too is looking at the swimming world. It's like, I feel like swimming is very far behind in terms of development when you look like compared to other sports, especially in the way we train. And I think it's interesting to see that, there's so much more science available in the swimming world, but a lot of it has been overlooked. And now people are starting to go back to look at it. And I think, I don't know if the US is maybe doing as much, but I know a lot of people around the world are starting to look at the science and see how the body really functions and, how we code movements and how our brain operates. And there's so much that we don't know that is untouched. And we've kind of just followed this mold because it was set in the 60s. And it's cool to know that, I've been able to kind of help, I don't know, I feel almost prideful saying like help usher a new age in swimming. But it's exciting knowing that we were a part of that. I don't think it was 100% myself and my family, but it's really cool to know that the records and the work we put in did have an impact in changing a lot of people's hearts and minds towards doing things differently, and understanding that as simple as USRPT is, it works. And I think that's what scares people is how easy it is, like how like basic and rudimentary it is. It's just pure common sense when I look at it. And obviously, the more you swim fast, the faster you swim, it's like all about becoming faster.
Yeah. Well, and if you do race pace correctly, it hurts. It burns. I mean, there's a pain that you get for that 10 or 15 minute set that is like the end of a race, the end of a 200. I mean, it burns. And most people don't like going to that place. It's very uncomfortable. So you can do, you could do 2 hours of kind of long traditional swimming. That hurts. That makes you super tired, or you could do, 45 minutes to an hour and reach failure of race pace.
Right.
You're still really.
What I notice is as you go longer in distance, it's the same principle. So like if I was to train for a mile, I'm going to have to be in the pool for a lot of hours because I'm going to have to do like 400s or 500s at mile pace or even 200s at mile pace.
Yeah.
So it's, obviously we train for shorter events, so we do shorter intervals. But if you're going to train for a long event, you're going to have to do a lot of long swimming. And so that makes sense. I think that was one of the big misunderstandings in the beginning is people thought that we were saying you could just do a bunch of 50s and train for any event or a bunch of 25s. And that was never the case.
No. And then, listening, so many conventions, we talk about what you guys are doing and, your dad would speak and then we'd hear Katie Ledecky's coach speak and, but it was interesting from one angle how similar they were. You were doing 30-25s. Katie was doing 31-50s.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like that's what Katie has to do. She has to go hundreds and 150s and 200s at her pace, and you've got to go 25s and 50s and 75s at your pace. And so it's just, but it's just interesting because I don't think a lot of coaches will admit it, but everybody's watching, everybody's reading, and everybody's kind of questioning. Okay, what is the fastest way to get faster? Right. And so anyway. Just want you to know you're a part of the process of making swimmers better, making swimming more enjoyable for the sport, and ultimately helping our country get better, the Team USA. So, gosh, I want to ask you. I mean, of all these 100 national age group records, of all these epic races, of all these barriers you've broken, what are some of the races that stand out in your mind over the years, whether it was 12, 14, 16 years old, 18, now 20, 21, any races that kind of stick out in your mind?
Yeah, I think the races that tend to have the most value to me are the ones that either took me the longest to break, the most challenging ones, and the barriers, like the big barrier breaking races. Like the first time I went under 20, like that was huge. Or the first time I went under 19 seconds in the 50. Another one that really comes to mind, and I remember it very clearly, was my 200 IM. I believe I was, must have been 13, 14. We were in Irvine, California at either nationals or junior nationals, racing outdoors, beautiful facility. One of my first times there. I had a really solid week of racing, was doing well. And my last event was the 200 IM. And this was long course. And I was still at the time where I like hated the 200 IM. Like it was an endurance event for me, long distance. Like I just didn't enjoy swimming it. No matter how hard or how easy I swam it, I always got out with a headache and just felt completely exhausted. Even now, like it still hurts, but I love it. And I swam really well in prelims. And I knew in order to break Michael Phelps's national record, and I think at the time it was like a 206 or something. So it wasn't, I mean, look at where I go now, 156. It's like, it wasn't crazy fast, but it was a big barrier for me to break at the time. And I changed my race strategy completely from prelims to finals. And I knew all I needed to do is just like go as fast as I can in this backstroke, because at the time my fly was easy, breaststroke was solid, my freestyle was all right, like good enough to finish. But I would tend to like rest on the backstroke and try and get a bunch of air for some reason. And so I knew if I could just get that turnover going, I can probably swim pretty fast. Now I had no idea exactly how fast I was going to go, but come finals, it was the last race, I decided, you know what, I want someone to pull me out of the pool. I want to be so sore. I'm going to put everything into this. And I remember going for this race, very motivated, very determined. And I ended up coming out of it, breaking Phelps's 200 IM national record by, like, I think it was well over a second and a half. And it was one of those races where I was like, man, like that hurt, but the pain I feel is so worth it. And that was an exciting time because, you know, being a young kid and going through pain and racing hard, like it's not always fun or easy to decide, okay, I'm going to put my body through a bunch of hectic work. And I don't know, that was a big one for me.
Yeah. Do you remember the exact time?
No, I think I could pull it up. I think it was like 205 something.
205 low or something like that. Yeah. Well, I remember that because you're thinking, man, you get Phelps's 14 record. You're on track. You know, that's good. That's a good sign. How old were you when you first went 19? Do you remember?
Ooh.
Were you like 15 or something?
I must have been 15.
And then I remember when you went 18, it was because a couple years ago. Do you remember what meet that was at?
Yeah, so the 18 was actually, it was in the Mizzou pool.
That's right. That's right.
I was racing Michael Chadwick.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like,
I remember that. That was epic. You and Chaddy going at it, 18 high.
Okay, so
I love it.
First time I went under 20, I was 14.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And
it was Jenks sectionals. I went 1985.
That's right. We were there. We were there cheering you. I remember because our son Luke was racing with you. And yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Amazing barriers. You know, if any other age group kid broke those records in the 50, and that's all they was a 50 swimmer, they would write about it. Like Swim Slam and Swimming World, they'd be like, oh my gosh, this kid just went 19 at 14. Yeah. And they would write about it. You know, or if any one kid got Michael Phelps's record in the 200 IM, and you were just a 200 IMer, they'd write all about it.
Oh yeah.
You know, but here you are, you're doing this in all 4 strokes and IM. You're breaking the backstroke record now and again. You're breaking the fly records now and again. You're breaking the breast free and IM. I mean, you're doing all 5 disciplines, getting records, you know, here and there. And, you know, y'all would get a lot of scrutiny, or you'd get some scrutiny, but I'm like, I would read these things on SwimSwam. I'm like, you guys are insane. What you're doing is incredible. It takes so much guts to put yourself out there and try all these different races and try and perfect all these different disciplines. And you just go out there and you just keep doing it, and you keep trying. I mean, you know, we all love Nathan Adrian, but Nathan Adrian ain't going to do the 200 IM.
No.
You know?
I'd love to see that.
You know, the only guy who comes close to you is Caleb Dressel, trying different stuff.
Right. No, I mean, looking at it too, is like that would have never been something I would have decided to do on my own. Like as a kid, I didn't want to do all those races, But what's so cool is like my mom, like, she literally forced me to do it, and my dad also supported me to do it. And I think, at the time I was like, what, why are you doing, like, this is punishment to me. But now I see how valuable it was to swim everything growing up. I trained for everything. I swam everything. I raced it all the time. And, we raced a lot. Like, we went weekend after weekend just traveling. And I think that's why I swam so fast and so, like, consistently broke records, was because I was constantly learning from each experience. And I think had I, like, one weekend swam a 200 IM and swam a little slower than I expected, I'd take what I learned from there to the next weekend and improve. And so I got so good at learning on the fly and being able to then adapt and change that it made me a better racer than I ever was a trainer, And so I think that was a huge, even like USRPT aside, I think what made me so fast and so consistent in it was just that we did it so much. The more we were around racing and those atmosphere, the more I became comfortable and capable of delivering when it counted.
Yeah, there's something about being that consistent racing, getting that in that mindset, taking your body through those neuromuscular pathways and, exercises to where it just becomes ingrained. And like you said, you can learn stuff on the fly and fix stuff. So that is powerful and really unique that you had that opportunity to race so much and really hone in on what works and what doesn't work. Just fascinating stuff. I just love it. And, you came to the table with this huge competitive spirit. And then you got, a perfect storm of your parents, coaching you, feeding you, encouraging you. And I'll never forget the 400 IM speech your mom would give you. She'd be like, "You got to do the 400 IM, Michael." And you and I would look at each other and be like,
Wow.
it's like, "No, you don't want to do the 400 IM. It hurts." But
Yeah.
you honored her and you did the 400 IM a few times and you got the record in that, I think, one time.
I did.
And so, so you were a good son. But anyway, I just love, just how so many things came together in such a unique way that got you to where you are today. But real quick, going back, you got the competitive spirit, you got the parents, you're racing all the time, but I wonder if you can come share some of the principles that our Olympic chaplain taught us that really made the difference to give you the perspective and the perseverance to keep going. Because what I teach people is like, yeah, you got to have the technique foundation, you got to be willing to go through pain barriers, but you also got to have the right attitude and the right perspective for the long haul. So maybe you can just share some of your favorite quotes, some of your favorite, just illuminating things that really
100%.
help you.
Yeah, and help me if I butcher the quotes, because I know you know them as well. But what kind of stuck with me the most was the fact that these results, these gold medals, even if I didn't realize it now, they will not last. And at the time you hear that as a 14-year-old, 16-year-old and think, you're crazy. Like, if I win a gold medal, I'm going to be happy forever, because that's the lie that's kind of sold. And, lo and behold, as I became a world champion, as I break records, and as I experience these things, I realized, a week later, you're still human and people forget, and it doesn't last because people don't read the same news article over and over and over. And what I was kind of starting to understand and was getting lost and trying to not replace was that love and that relationship. Those things that last are those relationships. It's the love. And a quote that our spiritual mentor would give us was, "Medals are earned. That's right and good. Love cannot be earned. If it's earned, it's not love." And so I think with swimming, I was starting to try and I was earning worth, my value, especially being a pro athlete, is like, that's kind of instilled in you. It's like, you're going to swim well. And if you don't swim well, you don't get paid, and that's but it's such a bad way to live because you get so locked up that you can't even perform, period. And, that's what I realize now too, being here in California, is like, I've got some of the best relationships I have ever, dreamed of having. I've got friends I can go surf with, people I'm getting to spend time with outside of swimming. Like, these are what lasts. Like, one day we'll be on our deathbed, and the last thing we're going to say is, bring me all my gold medals and the shiny car that I earned. It's like, we don't want that. We want to be with the people we love. And I think that was a huge thing for me to understand and really changed my perspective altogether. Like, I still have that competitive edge where it's like, I'm going to do everything I can to win. Like, I hate losing more than I love winning. But at the end of the day, it's still swimming. And, I wouldn't have learned those things if it wasn't for you introducing me to, our spiritual mentor and the people in the athletic world that understood that, because it's so easily misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, I think when you just focus on these different aspects of love, joy, gratitude, others, relationships, and you begin to really apply these to your swimming experience, it ultimately is going to give you a longer, healthier career. And so anything good is going to come. It usually comes, the longer you're able to stick around, because you just get naturally stronger and better and wiser. And if you can avoid burnout, you probably want to do that at all costs. And so the more you can learn to apply these words and these concepts of love, joy, gratitude, healthy relationships with others.
Another thing so I was fortunate enough to be in a Bible study. We did a Skype Bible study with a bunch of friends. Some of them are national team members now as well. And it's super cool that, we have that bond still, but we weren't ever in the same state. And so we would meet weekly and pray with each other and go over Bible studies and scripture and learn as athletes what it meant to be a believing athlete. And something that I loved is at the end of each call, we would ask each other these 3 questions. And it was, how has sport brought you joy? How has sport drawn you closer to others? And how has sport drawn you closer to Jesus? And what I realized is, man, like, swimming and all of these things that I do in life that I enjoy, that bring me closer to people, that draws me closer to God, it's a gift. It was given to me so that I can have a more full life. And I think when I was able to understand that, it's like, man, why should I ever be upset with a bad day? I can take that opportunity and learn and get better, but it should never hurt. It shouldn't be something that I get down on. Of course, there's sad moments, but it's all part of what makes those highs so high. If you never have a low, what's the point in having a high? It's all going to feel the same. And, that was really big for me too, because, I journal and I understand, now that I look back on those journal entries and those things, and I realize, man, I was able to experience so many cool things in swimming. And it's easy to forget that, because a lot of times the negative words and the sadness and the disappointments tend to speak louder than those exciting moments.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so important just to have that balance. Yeah, times are important, and setting goals are important, achieving things are important, but when you just love the journey, you love who you're doing it with, and you love the process, it changes everything, and it makes everything infinitely more enjoyable. And so well done on that front. And we're always learning. I've been swimming for 30 years. I'm still working these things out. You're still working these things out. But I appreciate you being open and, vulnerable and transparent with your emotional, spiritual journey to becoming an ultimate swimmer, because it's huge. And that's often neglected for a lot of young swimmers, is how to apply these concepts to their career. I got to be honest with you, as much as all your records have been incredible over the years, and I'm fortunate I've been able to watch so many in person. I got the 156.8 from a few months ago was beautiful. It was incredible barrier for you.
The first 150 was.
I mean, the first 3 laps were beautiful. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. It was obviously just, huge for you to think, okay, I think I'm on track for something great next year. And I know after 2016, getting top 4 in the 100 breast at trials, off what maybe correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't like a huge amount of training and a huge amount of preparation.
No, it wasn't.
So obviously 100 breast, you're top 5 in the country at. Now 200 IM, you're top 3, top 4 in the country at, and 50 free, you're top 3. You got some decisions to make for trials next year. We thought we were going to do it this month. It's crazy to think that this month you would be going for the team, but thankfully we get a year to regroup.
So grateful for the next year. It was so bizarre. Like last night, I was speaking with my girlfriend and just saying like, I would be going to Omaha in like a week and a half, 2 weeks to go race. Like, how crazy is that? I would be so like, I'd be freaking out right now if we stepped to Iowa or to Omaha because I am so far from prepared. Like, it's crazy. And I think there's a lot of blessings in this season. But yeah, no, the 200 IM was huge. And, heading towards Olympic trials, prayerfully, praying about our schedule, praying that it all still happens and everything is smooth as they reorganize and prepare. The plan is right now, my 3 focus races, like you said, 50 free, 100 breast, 2 IM. And we're still training for everything. And kind of the reason we're training for all 4 strokes is because, we swim the 200 IM like we swim 100. Obviously, it's broken up. And so I think the pain is very different to like a 2 fly, a 2 back, 2 breast. And so we're training for it like we would 100, basically each stroke individually, and then it pieces together when it comes time to race. And I think that's going to be the winning formula for us. And then, of course, focusing on that sprint aspect with the 50 free. But, those really are our 3 prime events where I really feel strongest right now. Who knows? When push comes to shove, I think the 100 back and 100 free, 100 fly, there's definitely, I think, more of not an outside chance, but definitely a chance where I can like etch my name onto the team in those. But the focus is definitely those 3. Those are the bread and butter right now.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting to have that many options, and so of course we'll be supporting you all the way. So I think you've enjoyed. You had the big move from Kansas to California. I think you've enjoyed the beach. It looks like you've enjoyed becoming a surfer dude and enjoying the perfect weather. What has being there enhanced for you emotionally, physically, spiritually?
Man, everything changed. I think when we moved to California, not like, saying that it's like, oh, everything wasn't good enough before we moved, but I think it was the perfect timing. I think had I moved earlier, there would have been a lot of distractions. The beach would have been a distraction. The weather would have been a distraction. All the fun activities, surfing, paddling, free diving, everything. I think it could have had the opportunity to take me away from swimming. But I'm fortunate enough to, have grown up and be mature enough as a pro athlete to understand that I can use all those activities and enjoy them in a way that's going to actually benefit my swimming. And we saw that very early on, and I continue to enjoy it. I was in the surf this morning for an hour and a half, just enjoying clear, perfect, glassy waves with very few people out. And it's like, the lifestyle is completely different. I think too, what I love is being here in California. There's so many athletes, and they're not just athletes. They're all like elite athletes. Like the other day, I went and climbed Double Peak on my bicycle with a pro cyclist and his buddy. And, I'm able to meet up with triathletes and do some open water swims on Sundays with my buddies at the one with the ocean. And so, I'm able to kind of involve myself in these different communities that helps my swimming, but it also is a healthy distraction and takes me away from the anxiety and performance side of just swimming all the time, head down, black line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool, man. I can't wait. I've always wanted to learn to surf my whole
You
life.
gotta come out.
I'm almost 50 and I've never learned. So will you teach me?
Yes, absolutely. I've got a wetsuit for you. I've got way too many boards. It's ridiculous. I am a board hoarder. I have
Yeah, so let me borrow one and teach me to get up so I
always.
can do this.
You do it right away.
That's cool. Well, I just, you know, I love how you race. I love how you keep up with the science. Um, I love how you're able to articulate it and you're willing to be honest and vulnerable with your journey and just open. But what I really love is how you really are good at meeting people and making people feel welcome and interacting with people. And one of the reasons when I first met you when you were 14 and you went pro, and I asked you to be a part of our traveling clinic group of elite clinicians and Olympians, and I immediately saw the way you interact with kids, the way you're able to communicate, and I thought that's the kind of guy I want on our team. And I just so appreciate that about you. Um, so you had a big impact on me, just inviting me into your home and letting me work out with you and kind of getting excited about swimming. But you've now done that with hundreds, if not thousands of kids out there that maybe they came to your place in Kansas to train with you, or, maybe they just got to, do a lesson with you and your dad, or just, but you do a great job of keeping up with folks on social media and saying hi to people. I mean, it's just, I so appreciate how you're able to give back and serve others and be open to meeting and helping others. I think it's huge, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's always the goal. I realized that I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for all of the people that supported me in my journey. And so any opportunity to give back and to kind of, I don't know, just share all the things we've learned is like, we don't want to keep any secrets for ourselves. We understand that there's a lot of fear in giving everything away, but I realize, man, life is so short. We may as well do everything we can to educate everybody so that they can experience what I've been fortunate enough to experience. And that's a huge blessing.
I remember people commenting. I remember one guy I was talking to when you were 14, 15. He says, that poor kid, he's not on a team. He's not going to go to college. And in the back of my mind, I promptly corrected him. I said, I think he's doing pretty good. Don't worry about Michael. Anyway, but here you are. You've had like 4 lifetimes of a swimming career. I mean, you had this great age group career, and now you got an international career. Now you got the ISL career, and I mean, you've done more in just 6-7 years than most people could dream of doing. And you didn't get to go to college, but man, you haven't missed out on much at all. You've developed yourself. You got your degree. You continually to learn, whether it's learning about making vlogs and technology and cameras, or the bikes, surfboards, travel, peak performance, the what's the thing you put on your arms?
Oh yeah, with that power dot and katsu, all of it.
Katsu, yeah, the katsu. I mean, you're constantly learning, constantly exploring, constantly experimenting. So I hope any listeners out there they learn to not feel sorry for you for not going to college, because that's all you've been doing is learning.
Always learning. I think the athletes that are doing well are the ones that admit they do not know it all.
Yeah, that's cool. So give us a little scoop about what it was like being on ISL, traveling to Turkey, traveling around the world. Being a leader and captain of the New York Breakers. And obviously give us a little hint on what's coming up next.
Yes. So I guess just to kick it off is what's up next is right now it's in the planning stages. I think we're getting close to where there might be some announcements in terms of where and when exactly ISL season will take place. We are all extremely hopeful and pretty excited about the ISL being one of the, I think, pretty much the only international level elite competition for swimming this year. With the Olympics being postponed and World Championships being removed, all of it, I think ISL might be the only ones able to operate and run. And so it's pretty exciting for us. As New York Breakers, we have our team completely selected, and we'll hopefully be able to start announcing them relatively soon. But we're super stoked with the team. And I think, being a team leader and part owner with my parents, it's been a pretty surreal experience. I feel like the last year and a half, 2 years of being part of the ISL has flown by. Again, like you said, it's one of those other lifetime things. It's like we've done so much with it and we've learned so much, and we kind of come from ground zero up to where we're at now. And, for me, the only team experiences I ever really was fortunate enough to have was when I went to World Juniors or Pan Pacs or World Championships. And it's amazing. Like, I love swimming relays. I love having a team of guys and girls that are elite and their goal is to represent one team, one flag. And now with New York Breakers, we get to cultivate that, but even more as a family. It's much tighter than what you even experience as a U.S. team, because a U.S. team, you're still competing against each other, and so it's been an incredible season, and I'm super stoked for what's to come, because it's going to be crazy. We have the 100 IM now. The 100 IM's been introduced, all the 50s of stroke, all skins shootouts. So it's going to be a shorter format. I'm going to be doing a lot of sprinting, and I love that. Like that's what I do.
You were born for it, man.
Exactly.
So, well, my wife got to be the assistant manager for the New York Breakers with you guys and loved it and was so impressed with you, and all of us were, with your ability to race and connect with the team. And I was fortunate to be a guest coach one at the Texas stop, and that was just a joy for me to see you race and to see the team. And it's one of the most internationally diverse teams out there, which was so cool because everybody, brought something different to the table and brought so many different experiences, and just the team meetings were just so fun just to hear everybody's stories. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. No, it's been an incredible blessing. We're excited to have people in high places with massive visions for swimming, and to know that Constantine is backing ISL with everything he's got, and to see his purpose and his love for the athletes is pretty exciting. It makes us even more so excited to jump in with both feet and be a part of it.
Yeah. So I guess it hasn't been announced yet, but I've heard through the rumor mill that you're going to go to a big kind of training racing camp in October. It might take about 4 or 5 weeks to do that. Mm-hmm. So
possibly. So we'll see. I don't know as many of the details as obviously my mom. My mom's the GM of the team, yeah. And she is in full discussion with everyone constantly. And so, as you know, a lot of it's pretty confidential right now, but it's looking like it'll be hopefully announced pretty soon.
Yeah.
What's going to happen, and to where it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I have some pretty exciting things, and I'm super stoked because I might be visiting a new country. So that'd be
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, well, don't tell me if you're not allowed to say. Don't say anything. Now
I won't. We'll leave it suspense for everybody. But you guys can follow your Breakers and Swimmer Michael, and you'll find out everywhere.
Okay, we got 2 lightning rounds real quick to finish the program. We got the 7 habits of ultimate swimmers. So real quick, I'm going to just read the word and the concept, and you give me one tip in that concept that you like to apply to your swimming career. So the number 1 is technique or finesse. One technique tip or drill that you like that really helps. What's one thing you think about it in technique that has helped you?
One thing that I think about in technique is there's 2 main factors. It's propulsion and drag. Yep. So when you swim, you're always trying to create as much propulsion and eliminate as much drag as possible.
Yep. So just always thinking about that body line. I came up with 2 phrases. Grab more, swim skinny.
Exactly.
So
skinny kick. I remember I met you. Is that skinny kick?
Yeah. So grab more means, you got to get more propulsion. You got to get the arms just right to grab more water. And then you got to get the body line. You got to reduce the resistance. You got to get your body skinny, get the head down, kick skinny, whatever, swim skinny. So grab more, swim skinny. That's what I yell at my swimmers all the time. So that's good. Okay. Number 2 is fitness, the aspect of training harder, getting stronger. We swimmers, it just takes a lot sometimes, takes a lot of time. Do you have a favorite dry land movement as of lately, or something fitness-wise that's helped you take you to the next level?
So it's been really interesting. Fitness, our routine has changed so much with COVID-19 and quarantine, and so we haven't been able to be in the pool training as specifically as possible. And so I've moved to using more dry land exercise. I think if I was to choose just one exercise that everybody can do, it's pull-ups. I think pull-ups are huge. When I do them, I'm visualizing butterfly stroke. I'm thinking about the muscles I'm using when I'm swimming. And I feel like it correlates a lot more than, bicep curls and squatting and things like that. Obviously, all those other things help and make you a stronger vessel. But I think pull-ups are one of those specific movements that I really enjoy doing. And it builds a very strong upper back, that V muscle, the lats, shoulders, chest, all of it works together.
Love it. Yeah, pull-ups are huge. Number 3 is flexibility, the importance of full range of motion and recovery. I know you're pretty good about stretching and foaming and kind of getting your body ready. What is a flexibility tip that's helped you, or recovery tip?
Flexibility tip, recovery. I think the biggest thing in terms of flexibility is, I don't stretch a incredible amount. What I do is it's more like spot treatment. So like if I feel like I'm tight somewhere, I'll work it out. But what's really important to me is post training, anything I do, it's either I get a massage or I use the tools I have, like foam rollers and Theraguns, hypervolt guns, all those things. And the idea is just releasing the muscles, giving them as much able to move around and be fresh. Because when you train, you don't want to be tight.
Yeah, love that hyper gun. Okay, number 4 is fueling, nutrition. You and I are huge Chipotle fans.
Yes.
The burrito bowl. But what's some other go-to fueling things that have helped you?
So what I love about nutrition is I can have a routine. And so I often eat the same meals throughout a week, whether it's Caesar salad with lots of chicken, so like 3 or 4 chicken breasts. My breakfast is always the exact same. It's 4 eggs, lots of bacon, avocado, cottage cheese, and a fat bomb coffee. And so my body knows what it's getting and it's constant. And so I'm able to adapt to that. And I know that I'm getting the nutrients and the sustenance that I need, all while keeping, high fat intake, low carb, and I take a lot of protein in because protein is what's recovering those muscles.
Yeah. You've been, what is it, 2 or 3 years straight keto? How many years now?
We've been dabbling for, I think, about 2 or 3 years. And the last few months, I have not been like super strict keto.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to see how my body's reacted to it and changed. But what I've noticed is because I have been keto years prior, it's very easy for me to cut out carbs completely and get back into a state of ketosis. So
that's amazing.
Play.
Fascinating. Okay, number 5 is fun and focus, kind of that attitude of gratitude, setting goals, staying positive, a lot of stuff we talked about earlier. What's a one saying or trick or mantra that you have for fun and focus?
Fun and focus. Fun and focus. Really, it's the biggest thing is being in the moment. It's as simple as that. It sounds almost cliche, but I think if we're able to focus on what's happening in the here and now, we'll look back and be able to have more fond memories of swimming. I never want to end my career thinking it was a waste of time.
Yeah, that's great advice. Be in the moment because you have a great practice. You string together a few great practices. You have a great week. You string together a few great weeks. You have a great season. You string together a few great seasons. You have a great career. But it all starts with that one practice, that one set, that one moment. You be in the moment and everything else takes care of itself. I love that.
That compound effect.
Yeah. Number 6 is family and friends. You got to have healthy relationships for low stress, for peak performance. The way you and your sister take care of each other, the way you and your parents have been able to travel this journey together, it's so cool. And you've had such a good support group, and the way you make friends and all those extended friends love you. You've done a great job of surrounding yourself with some healthy relationships for a low stress environment for peak performance. Okay. So any tips or thoughts about that?
My biggest thing is when you're looking at your family and your friends, you understand the importance of wanting to share your experiences. I'm somebody who I would hate, like, if I get to go surfing and I get to surf with a friend, I love it because when I catch a wave, he celebrates it. When they catch a wave, I celebrate it. So we get to share those experiences. And I think it's the same with swimming and it's the same with life is we want to be able to share those experiences And that's what makes them so valuable, especially to me.
Yeah. I love that, Michael. I think a lot of people that have never met you are pleasantly surprised how humble and approachable and just gracious you are and quick to make friends with everybody. I just love it. So thank you. And then finally, number 7 is faith, the aspect of an ultimate swimmer where you develop yourself spiritually, where you know it's not just about body, it's not just about mind, it's also being strong of spirit. And do you have a favorite Bible verse or a favorite kind of quote or anything that kind of helps you stay strong spiritually?
Yeah, no, my go-to Bible verse is Philippians 1:6. It's he who began a good work in me will bring it to completion on the day of Christ Jesus. And you know what that tells me is, I believe this was Paul while he was in prison. He understood that, you know, whether like while he's being tormented and he's in pain and agony, he understands that God's got a work and a plan for his life. And I believe the same for me. And what he's started, there's nothing I can do to get in the way of him completing it. And that gives me a lot of encouragement and excitement to know, okay, I'm going to press on and I'm going to work towards my goals and my dreams, knowing that regardless of what happens, I'm going to be blessed through it.
I love that. I love that. There's a famous old NFL football coach, very famous, named Tom Landry. And he said, when you become a winner in life, it's a lot easier to become a winner on the field or in the pool. And you've done that. You're already a winner in life. And that way you're now freed up to be a winner in the pool. And we're going to be cheering you and supporting you this next year. So thanks for what you do with ISL. Thanks for what you do cheering on and encouraging, inspiring other kids, and honestly, inspiring coaches and training systems and paradigms. You know, it's kind of cool to be part of the revolution, the race pace love revolution.
That's exactly, you know,
we need more
love.
Yeah, we need more race pace, more love. So thanks for sharing it, man. Well, I love getting to talk to you. I can't wait to see you around the pool soon, and we'll be cheering you on at trials next year. So thanks for being on the Ultimate Swimmer Show, Michael. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this Ultimate Swimmer podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from these Olympians and life champions and how certain habits and decisions help them on their journey, and they can help you too. If there is an ultimate swimmer from your team that you would like to nominate that we can recognize on our show, just email me at josh@joshdavis.com. That's josh@joshdavis.com. And tell us about how your ultimate swimmer is making a difference in your swimming community. And that's the goal, to make a difference and swim with purpose. Not only are you getting better, but you're helping those around you get better too. When you realize you were born for the water, born for greatness, and born to serve others, you are on your way to becoming an ultimate swimmer. I'm Josh Davis. Until next time, keep streamlining and keep smiling. See you around the pool soon.